It's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Vibhuti Jha, who is Executive Director in Nalanda International, USA. In 1991, he worked in leadership role with the American Express Bank to build and develop Indo-US business relationships. He obtained his undergraduate degree with majors in economics and minors in politics and psychology from Fergusson College, Pune, and his master's is in economics. He got his inclination towards understanding of Indian culture, its rich tradition, values, and Vedic heritage. He participated in the PBS Live program on Asian Indians in America, speaking on Indian culture, traditions, and values. He is a committed practitioner of transcendental meditation for the past 30 years. So please welcome Dr. Vibhuti Jha.
Namaste. Jai Shiv Shankar. It's a real honor and pleasure to be back with you on this wonderful conclave. Yogi Baba from Turkey talked about religion, and this is the perfect segue, optimism. But the topic that I am talking about is about how to achieve a work-life balance is actually the domain when the rubber hits the road. You have listened just now to two outstanding people who gave you enormous knowledge. Babaji talked about the humanness of the entire world. Yes, we are human beings. And that is what is important. We are human beings as God's creation. We are a creature of emotion. We are a creature. We are a living entity of our own emotions, of our own experiences. So here I'm going to touch upon in this short time, because this is a topic we can talk all day long. So let me share with you certain dimensions when the rubber hits the road with all the knowledge that you have gathered here between yesterday and today, and you will be hearing more and more. The question will come about, how do I apply it? Knowledge, information, wisdom, they are all good. But if you are not able to apply it, then it doesn't make any difference. Then it is just like a book of quotations or the religious texts. So let me begin with a very important statement, taking the cue from the Babaji from Turkey. It was a profound statement. Spirituality is few steps ahead of religion. We are all God's creations. Universally, 8 billion people, they all have one common element. We are all human beings, men and women, whatever shape and size, whatever color, whatever we practice, whatever we eat, we are all human beings. And we have universal concerns, universal happiness, universal joy in seeing our people succeed, general happiness. That's the important part to understand. So there is a very important thing that I will share with you, that human life is divided into certain components. How do we achieve work-life balance? Let's not think about balance for a moment. How do we achieve an elevated equilibrium in our work-life balance? That's what is the important part. Because this equilibrium is important, because swing will happen from time to time. Every emotion has its up and down, high and low. How do we connect that? How do we achieve the equilibrium of equanimity, of elevated sense? So let's put together. We all deal with certain universal issues. Spiritual and emotional is one side of the work. Occupational and intellectual is the second element. Third element is financial and environmental. And the fourth is physical and social. We are all creatures of participating in each of the dimensions of life. Now that is what is important. We are all individuals based on our own experiences of life, our own education, our own temperament. We are all different. So what is important for us to remember, that unless and until we respect other people as us, as we say in Namaste, unless and until we accept and respect other human beings as myself, as equal, there will be no emotional or spiritual values instilled in us. If we keep saying that I am superior to somebody else and others who are not doing something like me are inferior to me, that's where the discord happens. So, to achieve that balance, it is important for us to accept and respect everybody as God's creation, men and women, as a God given entity performing identical functions, our responsibilities. Very key word. The second part comes about occupational and intellectual. We all need to become better. Performance matters. And this is what is very critical. The performance in every aspect of our life that we choose to be, there is an excellence. There is a need for excellence. Knowing more, doing more. How do we do that? That will happen only when we take a conscious decision to be better than what we are. That's what the constant endeavor of learning comes in. Unless and until we continuously be on a learning curve or a learning cycle or learning steps, we will suffer immensely. And to that end, it is very important to accept and acknowledge a very simple fact that I don't know something. That is such a cathartic experience for me, is that it's not possible for me to know everything in the world. I may not know anything in the world, even from my own domain of expertise. So, moment we recognize that I do not know, when we make a self-declared declaration, self-declared declaration that I do not know this, that is the beginning step for learning. That's very important. So, I do not know something is not a negative statement. It's a remarkably powerful individual commitment to the fact that I'm willing to learn something because I do not know. Then we begin to learn something from others. That's the way we improve our occupational and intellectual capabilities, learning about other religions, learning about other faiths, and accepting them as they are. That's the key part, not my way or highway. That's the critical element. The other element, when you improve upon your occupational and intellectual capability, is to learn a very important attribute called learning to say no. That's so important. You know, we were doing a very important workshop in a particular time in 250 people, and we were teaching them the virtues of saying no, the importance of saying no. Just as happiness and unhappiness are two sides of the same coin, yes and no are also two sides of the same coin. If you do not know how to say no, your yes loses its meaning, because that's very important cultural element. Many a times people have told me that in our culture we do not say no. And what is the deleterious impact of that? Because whenever we say we do not know how to say no, we are lying when we say yes. The other person knows that I don't mean yes when I say yes. And that's what is important. Then what happens is that in our lifetime, we become dishonest with ourselves. And then the whole imperfections of behavior comes into and creeps into our life. Then what must I do to make things happen? So second thing is learn to say no. There is nothing wrong in not knowing something. Absolutely not. And there is always good to say, I don't know something, and I will say no when I need to say no, because there is no way we can do everything all the time and knowing everything about everything else. The third element of the balance is about financial and environmental. How much money do I need? Which environment do I live in? Now, this is very important to know that financial and environmental part is character and competence issue. You know, a sportsman, he's not gone through an MIT or IIT education to become wealthy. A sportsman is a college dropout or a school dropout, he still makes millions. Artists, painters, photographers, people are all excelling in their profession that earns them their privilege. It is very important also to understand for us, and that's why I'm talking about here, that character and competence have no correlation with each other. You can be a great professional in your field, but you can be a very bad parent. You could be a very average parent, but you could be a very successful businessman. Think about it. That balance is very critical to understand, that how good am I in my responsibility to my family, to my children, to my wife, to my spouse, and everything else involved with that. So, character and competence, we must not fudge that matter. Most often than not, we always say, oh, somebody is a CEO of a company, or somebody is a Baba or yogi, he must be a greatest man. But we have known the stories of religious abuse of children, of women all over the world. What happened there? Because we underrated the capacity of character and competence is absolutely essential for us to distinguish them completely. Just because I'm a great banker, it doesn't make me a very good father. Whereas I could be a good father and maybe a lousy banker. Both things are possible. But if we begin to draw the difference and begin to draw the balance, that I can be a good parent, I can be a good learner, and I can be a good banker, there is a greater joy and satisfaction in life. The other last part I wanted to touch upon was the physical and social part. How fit are we? I'll give you a very simple example. We all have flown in our life, taken an airline. How often do we pay attention to the security instructions and safety instructions that the air crew gives us? But for me, that wisdom came on a particular day when the air hostess announced that when the cabin pressure falls, the oxygen mask will drop in front of you. Put it on yourself first before you help others. That was a eureka moment for me. I said, if I'm not fit physically, mentally, spiritually, and every other sense of the term, how can I help others? And that's what is important for you and I to bear in mind, that physical and social competence comes when I am fit enough. Yoga, pranayam is very important for us to do that. I do it. Today morning, I got up at 4 o'clock. I did my pranayam, I did my meditation, and that's what I always say to you, to everybody, that what meditation does to me is to allows me to retain my sanity in an otherwise insane world. That's my definition. I'm not asking you to follow that, but define yourself in that perspective, that in that moment, what it does to you. That's what is important about achieving an elevated equilibrium. Remember one thing, life's good things are very tough to do. It's so easy for us to watch a football match for 3 hours or a sporting event for 5 hours. We find it so difficult to do meditation for 20 minutes. We say we don't have time. I remember this part because 40 years ago, when I was in Bangalore, I went to learn transcendental meditation. The Guruji gave me the mantra, gave me the Diksha, and he told me you have to do it 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the evening. And I was an arrogant young banker. And I said, oh, I don't have time. And the Guruji, with a twinkle in his eyes, he told me, the lessons that he taught me were never taught in any business school. He said, young man, if you were to vanish from the face of this earth this very moment, do you think anything is going to change? That was a real hard punch to my large ego, and I got really punctured. I realized that, oh my God, my institution will have many people to fill up my seat, good, bad, or ugly, but I will not be missed. Work will go on, life will go on. The second thing that he said was very, very interesting, is that you may think that people will miss you. Yes, there will be some who will. But do you realize, that was his quirky sense of humor. He said, do you realize so many people will be happy you are gone? Finally, the third part was that he also said that in the very next moment after you are gone, life will begin to happen for everybody who will miss you. This is the point which I'm trying to tell you. The last line that I will say to you today is that the one thing that we control in our life is our reaction and our response to way the life comes to us. So achieve this elevated equilibrium by modulating your own response to what people say and do for you, because your words matter, your actions matter, your response matters. And that's all I wanted to say. Work-life balance is a cyclical process. It is never, pendulum always keeps swinging. You have to find that point in which you are happy with yourself. Thank you very much. As part of the United Consciousness, I am truly honored to share my thoughts with you, because work-life balance is critical and it's all about you, regardless of where you are, who you are, which country you are in, and which religion you practice. Spirituality is 2 steps ahead of any practice that exists in the world. Thank you very much.
Respected Jha, we are really blessed. Your concept of elevated equilibrium from different perspectives you mentioned about personal, and the strong statement that you gave from this platform is respect and accept everybody as equal, respect all religions as equal. You said that it should not be my way or highway. Then for occupational, you also mentioned that the languages of superlatives leads to discord. You mentioned about occupational balance, and we need to be better than what we are doing today. We need to learn how to say no. For financial balance, you mentioned decide how much is too much, and the great concept of character versus competency, making balance in both and not confusing between them. You also mentioned about physical and social balance. Lift yourself before you lift others. And good things are tough to do, but they are worth to do. And you mentioned about minimizing the ego. Life happens to us, but our responses are in our hands. Thank you very much, respected Jha. Really honored and blessed to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you. Honored to be here. Best wishes for the rest of the day.
Thank you.
I thank Dr. Vibhuti Jha for such a valuable explanation. Thank